Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. It is February the 25th, and I am really glad that you have joined me here. So yesterday the Deep Trance video went out. It is being very, very well received, and I'm really pleased about that because I think that there's some really important messages contained within the message that was sent to us. So just a couple quick things. One, I don't exactly know who it was that I was channeling. I do know that it came from universes away from us. And the people, or the energies that were talking to us and giving us that message are tasked with watching over the earth and doing what they can to help us stay in a place that is in keeping with the vibrations that we aspire to. And the other thing I wanna just say, I've been hearing lately people talking. They say things like, "Well, Trump is here to teach us karma. Trump or a lesson. You know, we're basically reaping what we're reaping what we sowed, and he is the vessel by which that is being done." Now, I don't necessarily argue with that, but everything in life is a two-way street, right? The soul prints that we create are a two-way street. They're a tapestry, and all the threads are interwoven, and they connect, and they come together, and they make up the whole, the collective. So it's not wrong that Trump is here, and that has given us, the globe, and certainly the people of the United States, an opportunity to relearn or rethink or re-experience some events so that they have a greater understanding, hence, the karmic situation. But don't forget this. He was not sent here by some divinely preordained situation. He is also here to learn a lesson, to figure out what he has done wrong in past lives and attempt to correct it, as are a lot of the people that surround him. And while it is not my place to judge, it is my humble opinion that he's actually not doing a very good job of it. So just be cautious that you don't sort of assign more power to him than is really his due. And another one that we should not be assigning more power to is Putin and Mother Russia. And so that's what we're going to look at today, because there's a lot of chitter chatter about, election interference. They're now talking about the fact that there are some indications that he is impacting or attempting to influence or interfere with Bernie Sanders' election. And, I'm sure that there are reasons for that in Putin's mind, and I'm sure they're very good reasons. And, if you think on it, you'll see that there is a method and a motive to the madness of Putin. So as I decided that this was going to be the topic of the day, and in view of the message that was released yesterday, I literally heard the words, talk about going from the sublime to the ridiculous. And so here we are, we're going to tackle Putin, Russia, election interference. For those of you who are interested or are wondering, that lump right there, having an afternoon nap, that's Jerry. So he's here, even though he's not necessarily like sitting on the table and swishing his tail. So let's take a look at Putin. Let's see what's going on with that Russian interference. Let's see if we can get some sort of a heads up so that we have some clarity. Oopsie, come on down, I have a question. And as I bring this down, you're going to see that I have a massive hunk of smoky quartz here protecting me and the energies around this reading. Okay, and I'm just going to shift it a little bit out of the way. Alrighty, so a couple final shuffles, and find out what we can find out about Putin and his intentions with regards to the United States and interfering in the election. Here we go. I'm just going to shift this up a little bit. Okay, here we go. And back. Okay. So, Putin election interference. Putin election interference. Putin election interference. Okay. So, part of where Putin gets his strength from is a complete command of the people of Russia. He commands all of it, how much food they get, what they are or are not allowed to do and think and be. Everything is controlled, and that is his strength. One of the things that really kind of makes him crazy about the United States and other democracies is that, we have so many freedoms, we have so many rights, there are so many things that we can stop and block our politicians from doing and being and saying and thinking and enacting. And he doesn't like that. And it is his intention, just absolutely make no mistake, it is completely his intention to bring down democracies however he can and by whatever means he can. And in Trump, he has found the perfect vessel for that, because Trump has no moral compass. And so it is really easy to sort of suggest to Trump that this is the way he should think, or this would be a benefit to him, or this is how it should be done. And he blindly falls along because he doesn't sort of think for himself beyond what will I get from this? How will I benefit from this? What good is it going to do me? So in a lot of ways, he's the perfect puppet, right? Because on a grand scale, he doesn't care. He does not care about the United States. He does not care about the damage he causes. He certainly does not care about the people. I mean, he really does see them as peasants. And, and I think secretly really wishes that they could all become slaves again, because they would be much easier to control, and then he really could amass even more power and possessions. Because in some ways, it's not really about the power for Trump as much as it is, what a surprise, here he is. It really is about the stuff he can get, the money, the properties, the accolades, the pats on the back. That is what motivates him. And Putin is not, he's a mean man and he is a cruel man, but he's actually not a stupid one. And so he figured out a long time ago exactly how to bring Trump to heel. And he does it on an ongoing and continuous basis. So there's that. In many ways, the government, the United States government, is really, really struggling to try to find a balance between the insanity and the directives that come from the White House and Trump, and their knowledge and understanding of intelligence and what it means and kind of what it indicates could really definitely unfold going forward. And make no mistake, they are being blocked, okay? Because what has happened is that Trump has managed to put into place people who mindlessly, oh my goodness, look, we've got the two of them back to back. So he puts into place people who mindlessly follow what he says because either they are being blackmailed, either they owe Russia themselves, and so they're not going to cause any waves, or for some reason they just believe that it serves their higher interest and their self-purpose. It's not that Trump is liked and adored by these people. It is that they want to use him to get everything they can get before his time ends and his power diminishes and he leaves the White House. So they really are prepared to make absolute fools of themselves, spout lies and mistruths, make statements that a newborn would understand is just blatantly false, because it is all about their own greed and their own need for that, accumulation and whatever it is that their personal agenda is. And frankly, Trump doesn't care because he's very busy dealing with his own personal agenda and his own desire for the accumulation of that which he desires. So that's kind of the energy that's going on right now, right? You've got sort of all of this insanity, all of it. And then you have the government standing there doing their level best to push back and block. And it is not that the government offices and institutions are not capable of blocking a significant amount of Russian interference. It is that their hands are being tied. Now, I suspect that there is activity going on quietly and behind the scenes because Lady Justice is determined to, have her say and frankly have her will. So that you have going for you, okay? So you've got the government and you've got Lady Justice, and she is going to do everything she can to block the blocks, if you will, right? She's doing what she can to remove the blocks that are coming from Trump and the White House and his administration. And frankly, a bunch of senators and government officials within each and every one of your states. Because, Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham and Jim Jordan and the list goes on and on, they really are in the same category with him, aren't they? So it's not just him. It's a whole bunch of them. And remember, collectively they have returned, and collectively they are going to sink or swim. Every indication at this point is they're going to sink and have to leave in disappointment and disgrace. But make no mistake, this is not a finger snap. This is not a piece of cake, because they really are up against forces that have at least significant enough power to really, really slow them down and block them and kind of prevent that forward movement. And unfortunately, the people that they are being replaced with, because of course he fires anybody who doesn't say what he wants him to say or what he likes to hear, they really are being placed by people who are completely inexperienced. They actually have no idea what the hell. And their entire motivation and purpose for being is to, one, line their own pockets, and two, stay on Trump's good side. So that's what's going on. And that, frankly, is the environment and the energy in which Putin loves to play, because it is so easy to manipulate people who are that self-focused and have no moral compass. And Putin would know because he also falls into that category. But what he has is an additional component of strength. He has a way of really manipulating people. And sometimes that is just simply by mind games. But lots and lots of times it really is by the dirt he has on them. And this is what happens. He very simply, subtly, without a lot of fanfare, he presents them with what he knows and what he has on them. And whether they want to accept it or not, they will. Because see these other cups? They represent what they have already taken, what they are already trying to cover up, the things that they are already trying to sweep under the carpet. And now he comes along and says, but I know all of your dirty little secrets. And you either play with my ball the way I want you to play ball, or these ones are going to be exposed. So that's sort of the basic energy that you're dealing with. Now, as we move, further into the election, as the primaries and the caucuses sort of, come to culmination and move forward, you're going to see a lot more information coming out from those places and spaces where information comes out that you can at least trust to some degree is more reliable and more truthful than a lot of what you hear coming out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. There's going to be, I keep saying this, there's going to be information that comes out by communication, whether that, I really think it's going to be journalism. People who really are able to still maintain a relatively neutral position. There are investigations going on. There is a lot of dirt that they are digging into because on some level, they really feel and believe, and they are correct, that they have a significant amount to contribute to bringing this insanity to a stop. Okay, they cannot tell people how to vote. Okay, they cannot rig the election, but they can, as journalists, release information that people who are going to be electing their government officials really do need to have. They really need to hear it. They really need to absorb it, even if on some level it is scary or frightening or depressing. It is their job to get as much information out so that people are making wise choices. On that note, I also just want to add that as you move towards Super Tuesday, I think it's called, you're also going to start seeing a lot more opposition research coming out. And, I'm sorry, but Bernie is going to be one of the primary targets because he is now the front runner. And so expect that, but understand that a lot of what you're going to be hearing in terms of opposition research or dirt coming out is not necessarily completely accurate, but it is also not inaccurate. Kind of where there's smoke, there's fire. So that's going to be going on, from now until into early March, which of course is not very far away at all. So that's going to be going on. So a lot of information is coming out, a lot of information about Trump, about his administration, about members of the GOP, his senators, people that are supporting him. And additionally, there is going to be information coming out from or regarding Democratic hopefuls for the presidential nomination. So there is a lot of you understand and realize that right now the United States is sort of at the fork in a road, okay? They are really making a decision collectively as the people of the country in terms of whether they're going to go in one direction or the other direction. And it's not that there is a right or wrong direction. It is simply that the choices and the consequences are very different depending on the choice that is made. Emotions are running very high. There's a lot of anxiety out there. There's a lot of worry out there. There are some people out there who are absolutely jubilant and, just think that what they see unfolding in front of them is absolute perfection. And that is in both sides. I mean, certainly what Trump supporters see, they believe is exactly what is needed. And then you have, of course, the Democratic candidates and their supporters who, also believe that moving forward with their choice is the correct way to go. So, just be mindful, right? This is bigger. It is way bigger than what kind of a healthcare system ultimately gets selected. And do remember that no matter which healthcare system you are hoping for and you're in fact voting for, ultimately it really is going to need to end up having to be a compromise. Nobody, no matter what president they are, in terms of the Democrats, are going to get what they want. And frankly, neither is Trump, should, God forbid, he end up being reelected. He also is not going to get what he wants because voters are going to make sure that they vote down the ticket so that you can do everything possible that you can do to try to flip that Senate so that, Mitch McConnell doesn't sort of have, he can't run amok over the government, and he can't run amok over what the Senate's supposed to do and making the laws. He will pay. Ultimately, he is going to pay for having that attitude that his desk is where all the bills go to die. That's going to come back on him. And honestly, we can only hope it comes back on him sooner rather than later. But make no mistake, there's change coming. And one hopes and prays and does the light work and the energy work that needs to be done, not to mention the on the ground knocking on doors and voting and sending letters and everything else to the appropriate people to sort of get the message out. Which reminds me, I got a notice or a comment from somebody whose name I can't remember, and I'm sorry, I apologize. But because what I wanted to know, I had sort of asked a rhetorical question about, is there a way to get a hold of the Supreme Court, the judges, and kind of let them know what you think about some of the decisions that they're making or some of the general feelings. And she was kind enough to contact me again. And hold on a second. Sorry, I just sent my daughter off to actually get me the piece of paper where I wrote the whole address so I can give it to you. So what she said was that in fact there is not a way to actually phone or email the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court justices, but you can write a letter. So even something as simple as a postcard, and if enough of them start flooding in to the Supreme Court, there may very well be at least some attention paid to the fact that, excuse me, there is such a thing as people's will and the will of the people. And no, well, nobody, thank you.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, nobody is, oh, okay, well, it's not here. Now I don't even know where I put it. Probably on a calendar somewhere so I wouldn't lose it. It just goes to show you how efficient I am. Okay, this is what I remember. It was number 1, First Street, Washington, D.C., the United States Supreme Court. I just don't remember the zip code, which I imagine is probably brilliantly easy to find. So that, while nobody is questioning the authority of the Supreme Court, because God knows there has been enough of a shellacking taking to the authorities of institutions. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is you have a voice, and should you wish to use it, one of the ways you can do that is by sending a letter or a postcard and making your views and feelings known. So there is that. And that, to me, feels like something that is super productive and energetically a really good and positive thing to do. Okay, so let's go back to just Putin for a second and see what's happening there. Understand that eventually Putin is going to lose his power. He is going to be brought down. And I'm not sitting here saying he's going to be assassinated. I'm not saying that. I am saying eventually, one way or another, his power is going to be stripped from him. And when he loses his power, those oligarchs who support him are also going to discover that without Putin, they actually maybe are not quite as powerful as they think they are against the will of the Russian people. And, literally think for a moment of what happened in Ukraine when the people said enough is enough, and they got that I guess he was a prime minister, maybe a president. I don't know what his title was, but they booted him right out of Russia. They stormed his little gold palace. That, of course, is where they found the whole black book, connecting Manafort. So the will of the people is building and building. And at some point, it is going to bring down the dictatorship of Russia. And at some point, they are going to start to heal. They're really almost going to use Ukrainian as a template, right? It's going to be, okay, well, this is what Ukraine did and it worked. And so let's sort of see if we can't follow their footsteps. It's not going to happen today. It's not going to happen next year, but it's going to happen, and it's coming closer and closer because as he continues to not only strip sustenance, that's literally the word I get, sustenance, from the vast majority of Russian people. He is making it very difficult for them to live their life, to have any sort of security or even the slightest little bit of prosperity. Eventually, there comes a time where people say that's it, no more. And there's going to be change coming. So is it possible that, 5 years, 10 years down the line, Russia will no longer be an American adversary? Yeah, probably. But right now, they very much are. And right now, you need to be very, very vigilant because they have quite the little campaign, right? This is not just kind of a shot in the dark. They interfered in 2016. They played around in 2018, and now they know exactly how they want to do what they want to do to accomplish their goal. And so be mindful of the fact that there is information that is being pushed out into the public through, places like Facebook, within the net. And even, of course, on some TV and radio stations, that really is pushing this narrative that Russia is harmless, Russia can't do any harm. And as that is literally being said in one sentence, on the other hand, they are throwing out unending realms of disinformation. So you got to get really savvy. You have to be really smart about what you're hearing, what you're reading, what you're absorbing, and ask yourself, does this even feel like the truth? And I have to tell you, because of the division and the divisiveness within the United States, there really is a situation going on where people are ready to judge very harshly what they hear about someone else if it in any way, shape, or form strengthens what they want. Okay, so I'm going to use this as an example. Again, please do not come at me. If Bernie's people want Bernie to win, anything that comes out about Biden or Bloomberg or whoever, Bernie's people are more likely to flat believe because it supports who they want. If Biden's people hear things about Bernie that makes Biden look stronger, they support it, they listen to it, they believe it because it strengthens their candidate, and all the way down the list through every single candidate. And as I mentioned earlier, there's going to be a lot more kind of dirt coming out. A lot of opposition research is going to start surfacing. So be mindful of the fact that you have to be very savvy about what you're absorbing, what you're taking in, and what you're believing is truth and what you're passing on as truth, because a lot of what is coming at you is simply misinformation, disinformation coming from Russia. And there are other countries involved. There's China, there's Saudi Arabia. There's a whole bunch of other countries who really benefit if Trump stays in office because he is so malleable. They can just literally get him to do anything as long as they meet his price. And frankly, they have way more money to play with than Trump will ever dream of. So he's perfect. And here comes the tower. Okay, so, ultimately, this is the hope and the wish. The hope and the wish is that ultimately the country somehow will become at least unified enough so that you can move forward in such a way to as not completely topple the entire structure of your government, that people start coming together, working together to fight against the dark money and start sending some of these people walking, down the path. And as I said before, it's not going to be easy, but it is doable. Okay, so once again, thank you so very much for your support of this channel, for the Insights channel. The Energy Circle is doing really well, and I'm very grateful about that. So I thank all of you for your support, the subscriptions, all of it, the thumbs up, the comments, which are, by the way, brilliant, and I read every one of them. Thank you. And for now, I think that's it. Until next time, take care, be well, and I'll see you soon. Bye.